Well, welcome everybody. It is truly such an honor to have you guys on tonight and that you would take time out of your evening to spend it together here. I am super excited and just really believing that the Lord will stir hearts. My desire tonight is simply to share our story and to share what the Lord has used in our lives, in my life personally, for our marriage, for our family, and for so many others. And for some of you here, it may stir your own heart, and the Lord may nudge you and say, "This is for you too." And for others, that may not be the case. And either way is okay. But more than anything, that you would be stirred to dream, that you'd be stirred to find hope again, that you would be stirred to go after God's best in your life and to know that He's not done writing your story. Does that sound good? If I at all get distracted, it's just simply me admitting everyone on as we go. But my name is Krista Deary. I am a wife to Chad Deary. He's the best thing since sliced bread. We've been married for 24 years. We have 8 children, ages 23 down to 7. So I have so many different stages of life here. In fact, my oldest married son stopped by with his wife earlier for dinner. They popped in. So I have a married kiddo. I've got these young adult kids, teenagers. In fact, my one of my girls just had driver's ed earlier. But then I have like a 7-year-old who's still practicing reading right now with my husband in bed. And I mean, it's just like it's so wild. There's just never a dull moment here. But I'm also a special needs mom. I have a son named Judah. He's 14 years old. He's a huge part of my story, and I'll share a bit more later probably. But he's 14. He has cerebral palsy. He has a form of epilepsy. He's legally blind and hydrocephalus as well. He has changed our lives. It's been one of the hardest journeys ever and very unexpected. But yet at the same time, I feel that we are as a family and even on a personal level, we are who we are because of Judah and because of the testimony he is to us and all that we've learned through his story. Though he's a teenager and in junior high school, his abilities are that of a 6-month-old baby. So it's kind of like being stuck in your baby stage for a really, really long time. So we are caregivers for sure. I was a homeschool mom for 17 years. I say was because I don't feel like I'm technically still really a homeschool mama, not in the same way that I was for all of those 17 years. Our church started a hybrid homeschool co-op thing last year. And so now 4 of my kiddos go to school there 3 days a week, and then they homeschool 2 days a week. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. They're loving it. I love it, but it also feels so wild after 17 years of homeschooling. It's such a new rhythm for our family. Beyond that, we're also in ministry. My husband and I, as of the last like 4 years, we live outside of Charlotte, and that has been a beautiful newer season for us. And, anyways, that's like who we are. Does that sound good? We live outside of Charlotte. Did I say that? All right, enough of that. Okay, years ago, y'all. I named tonight's call Breakdown to Breakthrough because sometimes I think it's often darkest right before the dawn. And I don't know if there's anyone on tonight. Maybe some of you, you're like in the peak of victory in your life right now. Like everything's amazing. It couldn't be better. You're in a victory season. Some of you may be in just like you're just going through the rhythm season, but some might be in a breaking point season. And several years ago, I found myself at the end of my rope. I mean, I will fully admit just how dark it was, but I found myself at the end of my rope and had no idea that that was actually going to be the start of breakthrough in so many ways. You see, when Chad and I got married, we had so many big dreams. In fact, Chad, I feel, taught me how to dream. He had become a Christian through network marketing and was like a drug dealer, had been an alcoholic since like the fourth grade. I mean, but he got around these men and he was so intrigued by these guys who like loved their wives and loved their kids and he's learning business and all these different things. And so when I met Chad, I was like, well, what a cool industry because I would not be married to you were it not for these men who have completely changed your lives. And so we did network marketing as a young couple 20 some odd years ago. And never were really successful at it, but we loved the industry and we loved what we saw and we loved what we learned, especially about relationships, especially about learning to dream big and to think outside the box. We just had a different makeup to us. As soon as we got married, we got back from the honeymoon. I was like, why are you going to work? Like, it just seemed so weird that we were spending the best hours of our day with everyone else but ourselves. Like, and then as we had kids, like we ached for freedom, for flexibility, to not be locked in to a 9 to 5. Now, for some, that's a calling, right? And there's a grace and a passion for it. And for us, we felt a grace and a passion to be so ridiculously outside of the box. I mean, we birthed our babies at home, we were homeschooling. I think we've just gone after freedom in any way our whole 24 years. And so we are looking for any way to do that. And we had this dream in our heart 24 years ago. And we had posters up in our home, even these dream boards that said, "Go Diamond, go Pastor." We felt a call to ministry, but we also felt a call to be in a place financially and in time freedom that we could go and do whatever the Lord said to do and just like drop our stuff and leave. Like it seemed crazy, but that was just this very real dream inside of us. We had stepped away from network marketing several years later, got into real estate. We had done a few different things. Chad had a mortgage company way back in the day. We had done the network marketing, had learned a lot, but didn't make money really, and got into real estate when the real estate market was booming, like 2004 to 2006. It was booming for a hot second until it wasn't. And I don't know if any of y'all were also affected by the market crash in 2008, but when the market crashed, the Dearies crashed, not just financially, but I think our ego as well. I mean, we hit such financial loss. We had so many renters at different rental properties who couldn't pay. They were going through financial struggles, and we just found ourselves with all of these house payments and renters that couldn't pay and drowning, unable to make ends meet. And that led to us losing our own home as well, finding ourselves living in my friend's little boy's bedroom. I was pregnant with baby number 5 at that time. And all of our kids are in there, we're in there, we're like, what are we doing? Like, this is crazy. We felt like we lost everything. And like once again, we're just like, how will these dreams inside our hearts ever come to pass? Because it felt like we would try something and then we'd go 10 steps backwards, and we try something, we'd go 10 steps backwards. Fast forward, we start climbing out of this pit. We had a few year period where at first we're living off of handouts from other ministries, from our own church, from friends. It was an upgrade when we finally qualified for food stamps. We didn't qualify initially for any government help because it looked like we owned all these properties. They were all in foreclosure, but it felt like an upgrade to get food stamps, but it was also embarrassing. I learned how to coupon cut like no one's business. I was a master coupon cutter. We would go to this dumpster every Sunday evening where somebody, some sweet angel, was dumping extra newspapers. And the goal was to get 12 newspaper inserts, the coupon inserts. And my kids would help cut them, we'd organize them. And I was trying to keep our grocery budget down low enough to where I could get our food with the allotted food stamp money. And it was such a humbling time, of course. It was a season of learning to be content with what we had. It was a season of identity shifting, of it not being based on a car that we drive or where we live, but watching really the miraculous. We saw that the word is true. He really is provider. And the number of stories I could tell, it would take all evening, but he truly provided for us. And we had several years there trying to climb out of this pit. We lived in this cute little Cracker Jack box of a house. I mean, it was literally a square. All of our kids piled in there. And we thought we were having baby number 6, who we thought would be our last baby. 2 more would come later. And we knew it was a boy, and we really felt he was to be named Judah, and that he'd be our last kiddo. His name means praise. And in our minds, we thought the Lord is naming him praise because surely we're going to finally enter into a praise season, a victory season. Like, this has to be it. And I remember keeping this journal, documenting all the victories that were occurring during his pregnancy and allowing my heart to maybe dream again, that we're going to get through this. And the worst is behind us. Surely, if we could make it through that, we can make it through anything. Had a beautiful birth. He was another home birth. Everything went well. He was perfect and lovely. Sure, we were crazy busy with 6 kids, but everything was going great until it wasn't. And when Judah was 5 weeks old, he had what's called late onset hemorrhagic disease of the newborn, 2 spontaneous brain hemorrhages that destroyed 75% of his brain. We were very close to losing him. He's a miracle that he's even alive today. We were told he would likely not make it, and that if he did come out of it, he'd be brain dead, blind, and deaf. But it was traumatic, to say the least, especially as the way it can work in the ER and in situations like that. The first assumption was that it was shaken baby or that there was trauma in the home or something had happened. So we were also under investigation while Judah was fighting for his life. So it rocked our family in a really, really big way. Later, when they discovered he had not had a vitamin K shot at birth and it was late onset hemorrhagic disease, while we had answers, it was still phrased in such a way of like, Mama, had you just done that shot, this would have never happened to you. And that would stick with me for quite some time that, wow, like I single handedly destroyed my son. I just wrecked our family. And that voice was right there with shame and regret and disappointment every time he cried, every time the other kids cried, like, what have I just done to my family? Well, a couple years passed and we would just like dove headfirst into therapies and everything we could do to fix Judah and to get our lives back. Like you'll do anything for your kids, right? We did everything we could and we were having fundraisers. We were doing all kinds of out of the box treatments, but also normal mainstream treatments. I mean, I went from homeschooling every day to like daily going to doctor's appointments, therapy appointments. I mean, just everything under the sun. What I didn't realize was that in doing that, as I focused all my energy, attention on my son, I ignored grief. I ignored the pain. I ignored my own health and sanity, and my body came crashing down. And so I remember a season of being severely underweight, um, taking pain medication of any kind every 4 hours. My hair was falling out. My thyroid was swollen. I'm checking in with doctors, and they're like, we can't figure out what this is. You could be checked for thyroid cancer. It could be that. But honestly, you've just been through a lot. Like you've had a lot of kids back to back, and now you've navigated trauma and you have chronic stress and you're a caregiver and your body's just kind of failing you. I still remember what the room was like and the doctor telling me like, I don't know, your body's just kind of giving out. I'm like, great. I'm so encouraged. It's like, is there anything you can do to help me though? And so I was taking all the supplements I could. We took a road trip to meet with other specialists throughout the country and figure out what is going on with my health. And I got a surprise pregnancy along the way with one of the best gifts in the whole world, Malachi. He's now 11. He's the coolest little love bomb ever. But having another baby boy, while he was the sweetest healing gift in so many ways, he unearthed, not he, his birth and having another son really unleashed PTSD in a really massive way. And whereas in the past, it would just be like an ambulance or a siren or certain spots in our home where I would have flashbacks. Now I could be holding a little baby boy and have a flashback. I could be changing his diaper and have a flashback. I could be feeding him and have a flashback. And I found myself, it was as if when everything happened to Judah, that fear entered my life. And it was like, if that could happen, anything could happen. And I was ruled by fear, by irrational thoughts. My kids could like check the mail, but the irrational thoughts in my head were that they'd be kidnapped checking the mail, or they could climb a tree, but in my brain, they were going to fall and die. Like I literally thought anything could happen at any moment because it was so shocking what had happened to us with Judah. And so I had been prone to postpartum depression after my babies, but after Malachi, I mean, it was just through the roof, to the point that one evening, as I spiraled in my thoughts and couldn't stop them, I left my family. I left my family with the intent to just leave the earth. And I want to be upfront and straight about it because at that time, I wish I knew one other person that could relate to where I was at. I wish there was someone I could call or talk to, and there probably was, but I felt so much shame thinking no one goes through this. Like, if I was strong enough, I wouldn't go through this. If I could just take my thoughts captive, this wouldn't be the case. If I knew the word better, if I had more faith, something like, why am I going through this and why can't I heal and get on top of this? And I remember driving that night trying to figure out, do I crash this car? Do I drive it into a lake? Like, how do I make the pain stop? I was so tired of living in pain. And I don't actually remember at what point I turned around. I don't remember much of the drive actually at all. All I do remember is returning home once the kids were in bed to my husband in a very broken place, saying, I didn't think you'd come back. And it was the first time I ever admitted out loud just how dark my thoughts were. Like, he knew stuff was not going great. He was really running the home, running the laundry, running the meals because I just was not functioning well. So it was evident I wasn't doing great, but he didn't realize the gravity of where my thoughts were at. And we're thinking, like, well, what do we do? We didn't have health insurance. We're still climbing out of the financial stuff, that really the mess that we had made. And that Sunday, I went to my pastor's wife. I'm asking for prayer. And still in my mind, I'm like, if God would just fix my circumstances, if he could just provide for us financially, so we don't need all these fundraisers, and just heal my son, like if you just fix my life, then I'd be fine. Ever thought that before? If my circumstances were good, then I would live in joy. Well, no, that's just happiness. That's like a Disney World ride. It makes you kind of happy, but like that's not sustainable. We can't live at Disney World. And so I like go up to her for prayer, and I'm like, I don't even think I believe any of this anymore. I mean, just so dramatic. I don't think we have victory in Christ, and yada yada. And she just looked at me, and she knew better. And she knew my hormones had gone crazy. And she looked at me and she like wagged her finger. She's like, Krista, you got to get your hormones balanced. You got to get them balanced, girlfriend, or you got to stop having babies. And then she marches over to Chad like, sir, you got to stop having babies or go get your wife's hormones stabilized because she's a mess. And so we drove home. We're like, hormones? What do you mean hormones? Like, no, my life. Have you seen my life? My life is broken. It's all ruined forever. Like, hormones, like, what's that even mean? But a few months prior, a sweet gal I had met at a homeschool group who was just as shy as I am. We had barely connected, but she had been praying for Judah and cheering us on in our fundraisers, all the things. And she had reached out to me. She had seen me mention PTSD, and she's like, Krista, I don't know if you've ever considered this, but can I just encourage you to pray about trying Plexus? And I was like, no, thanks. Like, immediate no. I had said I'm not interested. I saw that they had a drink that was pink, and I was like, oh, I don't take things with like red dye or artificial sweeteners. Didn't check the label. I didn't look into it at all. Plus, it was called Slim, and I was underweight. So I'm like, wow, like bless her heart. But her message stuck out because she truly believed it would help me, and that was evident. And it was like a real genuine message from a pastor's wife, asking me just to pray about it. Like she wouldn't harm a fly. And so I told her no, and she had checked back with me a couple times simply to send me testimonies of people who had recovered from the same thing I was going through. She didn't know about the depression, the anxiety, the panic attacks, the irrational fears, being up all night long, all the things. She did not know about the drama. She only knew about the PTSD. And so after talking to that pastor's wife and we got home, we're sitting there like, what do we even do? Who do we even see? I was like, well, Chad, there's this girl and she mentioned this drink and she thinks it'll help me. I think it's a diet drink, but she thinks it'll help me. And she like makes her own kombucha and stuff. So it might like be good. And he's like, well, how much does it cost? And the cost was cheaper than paying cash for the doctor. And so, on basically a handshake of a deal, we thought, all right, we'll try it. There's a 60-day money back guarantee. So, we'll try it for 60 days. And if it doesn't work, get your money back. And then the plan was I would actually take myself to treatment. That's what I'm thinking. Like, if this doesn't work, I'm going to go check myself into treatment and really actually even going to a hospital. That seemed like a resort at that time. I thought that'll be a great break and someone can feed me. I got to get better somehow. So I placed an order as a customer and ordered a bag of Slim. We still did not have tons of money. I don't know if we shuffled around our bills or what, because at that time we had $11 extra every month. That's how tight the budget was. We got two Little Caesars pizza and a Redbox movie. Do you remember those days of Redbox? Is Redbox still around? Well, they were a buck back then. So we got two $5 pizzas and one movie once a month. That was our spending money. Okay. So I don't know how we got that bag of Slim, but Chad worked some things and he got me a bag of Slim. I started on the products. I was crazy consistent. I already knew enough about natural health to know to not expect immediate results. In fact, I wasn't sure I'd see any results, but I knew you had to be consistent. I did know that much was true. So I stayed consistent. I hid it in my cupboard. I did not tell a soul I was drinking such a thing. And if anyone came over, I made sure they did not see nothing. The kids didn't say nothing, like they just could not know. But by the end of the second month, things were shifting a bit. And some were like, they were really silly, but actually they were very shocking to me because I thought chocolate addiction was like genetic. My family, all the ladies in my family, they have to have chocolate like every day, a cookie, a candy bar, something. And so I had spent my whole life thinking I need chocolate every day, but I was finding myself not reaching for chocolate. That was actually more shocking than like recovering from depression. Let me just tell you. Chad bought me tiramisu. It sat in the fridge. We went from eating ice cream every single night to me not craving ice cream every single night and not needing to like emotionally eat. So subtle things were happening. But then by the end of that second month, Chad saw me dancing with the kids in the living room with an actual true smile, not needing to fake it and paste it on for a little bit, but like actually happy. And he looked at me and he's like, "What happened? I haven't seen you like this in years. This is the girl I first fell in love with." Few days go by, the kids commented, I know right where I was standing in my kitchen as my kids were like, "Hey, mommy, remember how you used to cry every day and now you don't cry every day?" Oh, such a wake up call. I'm like, oh, they saw all the tears, they saw the pain, but they were seeing the shift. That January rolled around, and I remember going to church and friends commenting, "Krista, there is something different about you. Like your smile's different, your eyes are brighter. What's going on?" And to be really frank with you guys, I thought the Lord must have healed me, and it happened to be at the same time as drinking a pink drink because it made no sense to me that something from a network marketing company called Slim would help me. And like, surely the Lord would never do that, right? Like, I mean, I still had so many boxes to break in my own brain. So I remember like whispering to one of my friends, like, there's this drink I'm having. It's called Plexus. Have you ever heard of it? Like, I was so nervous to even admit, like, this is what I'm drinking, but I think it's helping me. And I think I do feel different, but I don't know. It could have just been the Lord. Like, I think the Lord might have just healed me. And it took actually me running out of it and feeling the difference to catch on. It was really that drink. And I remember running out of it for a couple of days, I think, and then seeing the mail lady show up at my house with a bag of Slim. And all of a sudden, it was like pride went out the window because something just came over me of like, people have got to know about this. What if there's another special needs mom out there who doesn't realize like there's hope for her? What if there's another mom who's just exhausted and emotional? What if there's another mom with a newborn with postpartum depression? What if other people need this and I actually know about it, but I'm not even willing to tell them? And so I just took a picture. It's so random. It's not cute. There was no filters back then, like nothing. I think Mackie's like crying, crawling in the background. Malachi, we call him Mac. He was crawling in the background. Like nothing about it was fancy. I wasn't in the picture. I didn't even have a cell phone that took pictures. I used this iPad that had been given to my kids and I put it up there. And for the very first time ever, I admitted publicly not just that I drank something from a network marketing company, but that I also had battled depression and anxiety. And I found something that helped me. And what rocked my world is this, I think so often we go through hard things in life. We get really self absorbed. We don't realize it, but we get so self absorbed with how hard our life is. And it surely is probably the hardest life ever. Like, no one has it as bad as us. Like, we can just stay in this victim place, so self focused. And I think one of the greatest gifts I received that night, because I took that picture, went back to like homeschooling or I don't even know what, but that evening, I see messages coming in, some from people I didn't know well, but some were people I saw every week at church admitting, like, I take sleeping meds at night to be able to go to sleep, or hey, I'm on this medication, I'm on this. Do you think it would help me? And I'm like, I actually have no idea. I don't even know what their other products are, but like, let's find out. Like, I really was clueless. But I was so touched to have a way to look outside of the walls of my house and into the lives of others and say, this might help you too. That led to saying yes to a very unlikely opportunity. And the yes coming from a very unlikely person. I didn't have work experience. I was a stay at home mom, and I always planned to be. I liked being a stay at home mom. I still like being a stay at home mom. And I had the self esteem of like an aunt. Like, I thought, like, if my kids are grown one day, maybe I'll like volunteer at a library. Truly, because that was where I felt my skill set was. Plus, libraries are like so quiet and peaceful. Like, that's pretty amazing. But I just figured like I could learn how to do that, or I'll like rock babies at church. I know how to rock a baby in a rocking chair. I really did not think I had much to offer this world. Self-esteem, I was shy, all of it. So I wasn't like your poster child for success in this industry. I had, at least in the way I thought of myself, um, no, like no one was saying Krista should like totally do a business, Now Chad, on the other hand, he's like Mr. Businessman for years. But what I could get behind is I could keep sharing. And I remember praying, like, Lord, if I'm just honest and transparent, and if I put my heart out there, will you stir hearts of the people that need it? Will you just stir the hearts? And y'all, I've watched him do that for 10 years. I've literally watched the Lord stir the hearts of the people that he's calling here and he's placing here, because you know what? This isn't for everybody. I think these supplements are amazing, but they're not for everyone. You might be led to something completely different. The goal is find supplements that work for you and that move the needle in your health. That's what I want for you. More than whether or not you try a Plexus supplement, I want you healthy, okay? And this might be the right opportunity for you, but it might not be. But either way, go after what the Lord's asking you to do, right? And so I just began to share, like, scared out of my mind. I'm sharing. My hands would be shaking, and I just practice vulnerability, practice sharing from the heart, practice being moved by compassion. If Jesus was moved by compassion, I want to be moved by compassion. I want to close my eyes and picture who's out there who might be reading this and know that hopefully this offers hope. Or they just know there's someone else out there, that can say, hey, I've walked through something hard as well. But I would be like shaking and trembling. I'd show it to Chad and be like, here, can you check this? Actually, can you just hit post for me while you're at it? So nervous, so afraid, but everything good in life truly is on the other side of our comfort zone. And as I went along the way, looking for what was I scared of and doing it, what was I avoiding, and just start doing it out of love and compassion for others. I had no idea that the very thing God used to bring a breakthrough to my health is what he would use to bring a breakthrough to our finances. So after 7 years of walking through a desert season financially, we saw breakthrough in the most unlikely of packages through the most unlikely of people. It took about 6 months before my income matched Chad. Granted, wasn't a large income at that time. We were just doing what we could, right? But it matched his income in 6 months. By the second year, Chad went ahead and stepped away from that company and came home as a full-time dad to enter into a season of like, well, in the meantime, I'm going to be a father and a husband, and we're going to enjoy time freedom and financial freedom and then seek the Lord for what he leads us to do next. And it was the sweetest 5 years of our lives, homeschooling together, taking care of the home together, all the things like serving in our church, just traveling, like doing so many things. We literally saw those dreams from 20 some odd years ago come to pass. And wouldn't you know, in 2020, we did indeed go diamond. And then in 2021, came out to North Carolina, and that turned into a journey of going and pastoring as well. That go diamond, go pastor that was on our walls, on our refrigerator way back in 2005 is now something we live out today. So, what in the world is Plexus? I'm not even covering it really, right? I'm not. My goal is to share my story. Plexus has amazing supplements and they cover all the bases of your health, from gut health to your hormones getting balanced out, energy, mental clarity, skin health, all the things. We'll help you figure out what's right for you later. The goal is to determine, is it right for you? What do we have that can help move the needle in the symptoms that you deal with every day? We have something for you. We'll help you figure out what is right for you. I want to make sure that you have peace in your heart. If you're married, I want you to be in agreement with your spouse, right? And then we're going to go with your budget right now, too. We're going to figure out what works for you. We can do that later. You can even message me directly. That is totally fine. Um, but then beyond that, if you have questions about the opportunity, same thing. Truly, what I do for a living is I use supplements that are a blessing. My whole family does. I share about them and about this opportunity. And then the Lord has done the rest, right? But it is available to you too. We've seen so many stories on our team, not just of dads that have come home, other dads beyond Chad, but of mamas too. We've seen some realize along the journey what their dreams even were and go out and get into the career that they've been dreaming of. I think of one couple, he did not like his job at all, but was able to come away from that. They traveled for a season, but his real dream was to enter the police force, and he's doing that now. Another couple, that dad was working for mail delivery, I believe, and he was able to come home for a season while discerning what was next. Now they're doing ministry. I believe he teaches at a school now or at a college. I mean, like, it is so cool the different testimonies that have come through this, the ripple effect of impact that comes. And so my challenge to you is this, is to simply pray about it, discern if this might even be a step for you. You may not see the end from the beginning, but the Lord sure does. All I felt in the beginning was simply a nudge. Watch for the nudge. Watch for whether or not he's putting other people in your heart. Other people are coming to mind that you're like, they might need this, because it's not just for mamas who have special needs, a son or a ton of kids or have anxiety or depression. My husband, he recovered from IBS, acid reflux, chronic migraines, and has a weight loss testimony. My daughter had severe eczema. We tried everything under the sun. We cut out just about every food we could as well. And then we started her on the ProBio 5 from Plexus, and it healed and it's never returned. My one of my cousins, she was already on arthritis medication. She was just about to take this next step of some sort of like shot in her abdomen or something. Gave this a go instead and recovered. Her mama had celiac disease. I mean, like, I've seen so many testimonies over the years. There's not enough time for it. So just take a step. Take a step, follow the nudge, follow peace in your heart, ask questions, and find out if this is right for you. And know that we would be honored to walk this journey with you, believing that what He has done in our family, He can do for you guys as well. All right? Love you guys. We'll chat soon.